Thank you so much, Ankit, and good afternoon, everyone. And I'm so glad to see all of you all here. Sparing 1 hour for this topic obviously means you treat this as important, and it is something that is on your minds. And hopefully, through the next 1 hour, we'll jointly reflect upon, what can we be doing to be able to not just the intention of this session is not to manage time better so that you can do more. That's definitely not the intention because there's already enough for you to do, I'm sure. But it's more going to be focused upon how can you get more intentional so that you can decide what you should be doing and how you should be doing it. And we will go through a few reflective exercises, go through a few tips and tools over the next 1 hour, and feel free to keep getting your putting in your questions or comments in the chat box. We'll use that primarily for interaction, and at the end we will try and have a Q&A if the time permits. So moving on, Akanksha, can you please get to the next slide? Next slide, please. Okay, so before we get into, what exactly do we do to manage time, let's just understand what your time personality is. So if you could type into the chat box, looking at some of these pictures and the names therein, what do you think is your time personality? How do you react to time? Are you a perfectionist? Are you a multitasker? What are you? Can you put it into the chat box? Planner, a lot of planners first. They're taking the lead. Okay. Multitaskers, a bit of everything, very true. Multitasker. Many of you are also saying multitasker. Great, great. Okay. Okay. Planner. Cool. Quite a few multitaskers here, and that also explains why you're in the session. One procrastinator, the first one there. He was procrastinating before putting his name or comment back, it appears. Okay. So basically, I mean, there is a mix of responses here. And what I really wanted to highlight was that you know what each one of them is. There are pros and cons, there are blind spots and positives in each of these styles, but there is no right or wrong about them. Each one of us, and somebody also put it in the chat, each one of us is sometimes a bit of all, depending upon the situation, but there is obviously a primary preference. Perfectionists, all of us know them. We get stuck on the details. We want to do it very well. What happens when you try and do that? There could be delays. You may be caught up in minor details and not really the big picture when you're such a big perfectionist. And then you could be overwhelmed at the end. A multitasker, many of you said multitaskers, you believe, tackling multiple things together is the most efficient way to do it. You knock off each one of them either partially or in full, and overall you're able to manage. Or sometimes what happens is you get overwhelmed because you're trying to do all, you're splitting your attention against over all of them. Procrastinator, the classic case of trying to put it off till the last minute, may work well for people who work under pressure, but may not always work well for everybody. Yes, it could cause stress. You might end up compromising on quality or on something that is really required. You may miss something in the whole rush to finish it in the last minute. Planners sounds perfect, and some of you said you're planners. It sounds perfect. Obviously, you'll are keeping track of deadlines, you're keeping track of milestones and timelines, you're on track. But what happens when something unexpected is thrown at you? Then your time management skills come under pressure because it is your ability to deal with something unexpected is against your planning uh, attitude. So, like you can see, each one of them has some pros and cons, but the idea is not to focus on that. The idea is that if you know what you are primarily, you can adapt your time management strategy to how you typically react. And depending on some work, sometimes you need to be a sprinter, sometimes you need to be a multitasker. Depending on the work too, you can determine. So knowing your time personality, so the first reflection that I would ask you all to make and urge you to make is, what is really your time personality? There is no right or wrong, but what is it so that you can adapt? Next slide. Okay, we all are here because we want to understand how we can manage time better. Yes, but before we get to solutioning, let's talk about our challenges. How do you experience time? What is your biggest challenge today when it comes to time management? Could you type it out in the time again in the chat box? Is it A, B, C, or D? What's your problem? Or is it something else? You can also put it in your own words. Okay. A, D, B, D, B, mobile. Okay. Good one. There. All of the above. Okay. D, C. I see one C. C, D, C. Okay. B. Okay. Different ones, but I see a lot of B's coming in now, and initially there were one or two A's and some D's. Not enough focus, constantly being busy was initially the one, and some C's which came in. Can we move to the next slide? No, no, I think just let's go back. Sorry. So basically, I think again, when it comes to challenges too, the problem we see is it's not really about time. All your answers, what it indicated is it's not so much about the problem is not the time. The problem is distributed attention. The problem is multiple priorities. The problem is fragmented focus, whether it is through mobile, social media, interruptions, friends, family, whatever it may be. These are the reasons why we feel stressed when it comes to managing time. So let's just move forward and think about time differently. It's not time, it's the way we manage it that is the problem. So, a simple quiz. Again, I'd like you all to put it in the chat box. Who, according to you, there are different ways in which we try to be productive. Uh, which of these options is the most effective and the most productive way of managing tasks? Okay, see, 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 see. Here there seems to be an unanimity. Almost. See, obviously, very good, Navya. Yes, absolutely. The English there is, I think, pretty much obvious. Yes, the right answer is prioritizes the most important tasks. That is the correct answer here. But what I wanted to focus on here is that we believe that just being busy, sometimes we think, just being busy is the most effective way. Being activity equals productivity. Not necessarily so. Being just busy is not just being productive. Sometimes we believe responsiveness, just being able to respond immediately to a request, to whatever somebody comes and approaches us with or asks for, or an email that pops into your inbox and you need to respond immediately. That's the best way to be effective. I'm being very effective, I'm being very responsive, etc., etc. That's the way we equate responsiveness to effectiveness, but again, not necessarily so. Being busy does not always create value. So that's why it's very important for us to talk about the productivity equation. And the next slide. So, what do we mean by the productivity equation? So, typically, average performers try to manage their calendars. Okay, they try to manage time, they try to manage, how do I balance all of this out within a certain calendar? High performers would try to manage their attention, their energy, and their priorities. That's what high performers would do. And what do we mean by this? Uh, you all would have a peak performance period, I'm sure, whether it is morning, afternoon, or evening. So when it comes to when is it that you're at your peak performance? Some people are great in the morning. There, somebody said morning. I'm best in the morning. Is there somebody here who feels evening? Afternoon plus evening, evening. Yeah, yeah. There are owls and larks and night. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Evening, evening, morning. So there is a mix. We have a personality, just like we have a time personality, we have a way in which we manage our energies. Some are better off in the morning, some are better off at night. They're more focused. So depending upon when your peak performance is, it's best for you to prioritize and do things which are most important at that point in time. That's what high performers do. So, one is, of course, identifying what is the most important, and we'll come to that. How do you know what is the most important? But more importantly, how do you know when are you feeling the best? And there is something called a concept of an energy audit. Some of you would have heard about it. An energy audit is, I don't even know. Okay, somebody said, I don't even know when I'm at your peak performance. Exactly for this reason, I think you need to think about the energy audit. I just see it as initials here, VJSH. You just need to know what is an energy audit. An energy audit enables you to determine when are you feeling the most energized, when do you feel full of life, and you're in the flow basically. And at the end of the session, I will share something for you to do a reflective energy audit for yourself. But for now, just to give you a broad outline of it. Energy flows from how you manage both your body, your mind, your emotions, and your spirit. And when all of them are in balance and you're able to manage them well, that's when your energy is at the highest. And it is best to align your most important activities to when your energy is the highest. And what do we mean by managing? Yeah, somebody, I'll come to this. Problem is, everything is considered important and highest in the corporate world. And we'll come to that. It is, but there is still a way to manage it. But how do you know which is your what are your how do you balance, say, obviously your sleep, the way you eat, whether you exercise, whether you're finding time for it, all of that influences your energy from a body perspective. Your emotions, positive emotions, obviously when you're feeling good, when you're feeling happy, is when you don't mind the work, you are able to do it, you can go on and on for a longer period of time. But obviously when you're feeling, just you feel humiliated, or you just feel somebody is not appreciative, whatever it could be, various negative emotions can pull you down and you just don't feel like committing to work at that point in time. So how you manage your emotions and what you do to manage your emotions can also impact your energy. Spirit is the sense of purpose. Yes, are you doing something meaningful? Do you feel you're doing something purposeful? Do you see the connection between your work and your organization's ultimate goals and aims? Do you ask those questions? Even if it, and personally too, are you able to take out time for what matters most to you? So if you're completely consumed by work but family is important to you, you're at conflict, you're obviously at conflict, and that's when you feel this is not work is not working for me. So that is the reason why how you manage the spirit part of your energy, which is finding things which you find more enjoyable and doing them more, is one of the ways you manage it. Two is taking out conscious time, putting in some rituals. If family is important, how do you find some time to spend that time with family? If health is important, how are you prioritizing health instead of just letting every day be a continuous slate of activities and then you go back and say, today also I haven't found time for my health. So it's managing some of these which enables you to manage your energy. And we will do a energy audit exercise by yourself. I'll give it away to you, but what is most important for you to remember is matching your most important activity to the time of your peak performance, and when you're feeling the most energetic is the best way for you to be most productive. Many of you said multitasking. Not necessarily so. You need to do the most important thing. And somebody said, what is the most important thing? And that's exactly what we'll explore in the next few slides. Next. Okay, we moving on from productivity, the urgency trap. Yes, precisely what you all deal with on a daily basis. I've dealt with it in my career quite often. There are multiple priorities. Everything seems important. So here's a situation. Monday morning, you come back to office. You're thinking you have it all planned out. Over the weekend, you said, "Okay, I'm going to attack this first, and then I need to take care of this by Wednesday, etc., etc." You come into the office, you open your laptop, and here's the situation. There's a client escalation. There are some 30 odd emails sitting in your inbox, all requiring attention, unread, black. You can see them. There's a team member who says, I just need 15 minutes of your time. I hope you're not too busy. Please, can I have 15 minutes of your time? And there is a presentation due. Which one would you prioritize? Okay, I'm seeing some answers here. Client escalation, emails. Okay. Client escalation. Any other answers? Okay. Many are saying, we'll talk to my manager about the priority. Not a bad idea. What else? Client. So many of you are saying client escalation. So This is something that we face on a typically, most of you face this, I'm sure, at work. Multiple priorities, each appearing equally important. The idea here is not about, is any one of these less important than the other? Yes, somebody said team support. I'll talk to the team member. The team member needs support. You don't know what it is about. Many have also said the client escalation is the first. You don't know what's sitting in the emails. Maybe there is something important there. So the idea is not about really what you can prioritize. Can we go to the next slide? Because each one of them could be, but it's about really understanding that you need to pause. Uh, Everything is important, but the way to manage this is by pausing, reflecting, and proceeding about what you think is the most important. And some of you may be familiar with this. The urgency trap is basically every task appears urgent, every task appears important. And there is a natural tendency in all of us to be drawn to responding to what appears immediate and urgent. That's why many of you said mails, because that's what we typically do. We open our inbox and even though we said, okay, I'm going to do the first 45 minutes, I'm going to prioritize making this presentation. But no, we don't get to that. The mails are there, and then you start responding to mails, and then there is a response to that mail, and then you continue with that mail. It just continues. You just go on doing what is seemingly the most urgent. And the answer is really more about how do you ensure you pause and reflect to know what is urgent and important. So here's a typical way in which is a very powerful tool, the Eisenhower matrix, and we'll talk about it in the end when we talk of tools. But I am going to spend some time and introduce it now because it's one way for you to quickly understand how can you differentiate between what is urgent and what is important, especially when everything appears important. So if there is a way in which, if there were four quadrants on the basis of which you divided your tasks, one is on the axis of what is important, the other one is on the axis of what is urgent, then it falls into four quadrants automatically. Your tasks would fall into, and you can do this for yourself tomorrow. You try and do this on Monday morning, put your tasks and then see what is happening. Something which is most urgent and most important, which means it needs to be done. You have to do it now. It is also urgent, it is also important. So there is no postponing this. You need to do it now. What could be the kind of tasks here? Some of you said, client escalation. That is typically something that you would put in quadrant of do now. You can't avoid, it's a client. You have to respond. Let's assume there is an important meeting with your higher ups that you've been suddenly pulled into, and you are the one who need to be present there. You cannot delegate it. So you need to be there. You need to do it. There's a presentation deadline that's been moved out. It was supposed to be tomorrow, but suddenly your boss decides it needs to go today evening. You need to do it today. So that is do now. You have to do it. You need to address it. It is important. It is also something that you need to address now. So this is something that you will do immediately. So do now, urgent and important. Something which is not as urgent, but is important. These are typically activities and tasks. How do you identify these? These are typically activities and tasks which have an impact on your long-term goals. If you don't do it, you could be under the risk of missing something, not meeting some goals of yours, not achieving something in the long run, etc., etc. So that's how you differentiate these tasks. These are typically something which is important. It needs to be done, but it doesn't need to be done today. It can be scheduled. So you schedule it. You have something that you take time out for, you schedule time for it. It could be your health. Exercising is one. We typically push it out, but it has long-term consequences. You need to do it. So how are you doing it? It could be project reviews. You don't need to do it today, but at some point in time, you need to do the lessons learned exercises. You need to do a debrief. You need to find time for it so that you can de-risk for the future. You can plan better for your project. So project planning, project reviews, lessons learned exercises, those debriefs, these are something that you schedule. You don't need to do it immediately, but it is important. You need to find time for it. So are you doing that or not? Because these have impact on your long-term goals. It could even be time with your team members. How are you engaging with them? If you're a manager, are you spending time with them, or are you so consumed with work that you're not able to coach, mentor, guide them? Apart from giving work. That's also something that you can schedule time for. It could mean time, taking time out for something to do with your family. Your children's PTA is coming up or a football match is coming up. You think it is important. You want to be there. You feel the child will feel good about it. Can you manage it? Can you plan for it in advance? So these are things in which you manage some of these and put it into that quadrant and say, I need to do this. It's important for me to do this. So I will schedule it and make it. And schedules are useless unless you stick to them. That's the most important thing. So I think that is the scheduling part of it. The right bottom quadrant is something which is important but not urgent. What could those be? This could be somebody walking up and saying, I need 10 minutes of your time. Can you quickly send me this update? We are going to meet the client tomorrow. Or, I need some help with this particular Excel. I am not able to figure out what is the analysis that I need to draw from this. It could be multiple such requests, people walking in suddenly. These are interruptions. Okay. Some are logical interruptions, some are uh, valid interruptions, but something that breaks your schedule. Here you need to assess, do I really need to be present to do this? Do I need to be in this meeting? Am I the one who needs to send this report? Do I need to sit on doing this report? Is it something that can be automated for the future? Is it something that I can just push it out? So these are questions that you need to ask yourself, and delegate as much as possible. These tasks can easily be delegated to somebody who can do it as well. You also help them grow. So those are the delegation tasks. And the last one is eliminate box, which is really they're neither important nor urgent. What could these be? Anybody? I gave you some examples. What could be tasks which are neither important nor urgent? Somebody said mobile, social media, endless doom scrolling. All of these are typically not important, not urgent, but are time suckers. They take away time without you knowing it. Sometimes you start researching something, you go down the rabbit hole. You've forgotten your initial objective and you keep going forward into something else. It's important, but you just need to it's not important. It's something that you don't need to spend so much time on. So can you eliminate this? And even if you have to do this, can you put some boundaries to it? Okay, I will spend only 1 hour on scrolling on Instagram. It's important. You want to be in touch with people, you want to entertain yourself, but can you put some boundaries to it? So these are office gossips. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's important. Water cooler conversations also help build bonding, but at the same time, it's not as important. Yes. So can you put some boundaries? Okay. I will do it once and I will go there in the afternoon time. I'm not going to get stuck there when I go and pick up a cup of coffee and waste my time all the time. So this is a very powerful tool of determining what tasks are important and what tasks are urgent. And I've given you some examples, but using this and using an Eisenhower matrix to primarily I mean, you put it in these four quadrants and determine what to do with it. And delegate could be, if you're just very junior, you may not have the ability to delegate, but you could have the ability to take support. You could ask a colleague, you could split the task. So there are various ways. When we talk of delegation, there are various ways to do this. So that's on the urgency trap, because it's most easy to think that just being busy, just attending to the immediate is the most important way to be effective, but not necessarily so. So hopefully after this, you all will use this to, manage your tasks better, and you can do this both professionally and personally. You can use the same matrix for what is personal life too. There are some things which you can schedule. Say financial planning, it's important, but it doesn't need to be done today probably, but you need to find time to do financial planning. But something which is urgent and important, you need to do it then, if the timing is of essence even in personal life. So okay, next slide. Again, let's move on to, we talked so much about not looking at what is immediate and urgent. So let's talk a little bit more about how can we influence our productivity even better. So Please type in your answers again. What do you think is the most appropriate answer here according to research? When we switch between tasks, many of you said you're multitaskers. So, what happens? C, 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 C. Okay, quite a few C's, unanimity here. Great. You'll are all right. So you'll are all correct. There is, because you'll experience, probably some of you have experienced this. We switch between tasks. We are making a presentation, an email pops up. We start looking at the email. We're doing some analysis. A team member walks in, we don't put the boundaries, or somebody walks in, we don't put the boundaries and say, can I talk to you later? I'm doing some focused work. Can I do something after some time? So, the idea, whenever you switch between two different tasks, there is a hidden cost. The cost is called attention residue, basically. Our brains don't switch as swiftly as we want it to. I mean, the brain does not switch so there is always an attention residue. So even if you have finished replying to that email which popped on your screen, and you've returned to your presentation, you're still thinking about the email. You're waiting for what will come as a reply to that email. You sometimes go back and check, have I written the language correctly? Have I drafted it appropriately? Did I include, or did I attach that something? So there is an attention residue. You do not, and I hope some of you can relate to this. You do not just finish the task and move on to the next. You continue to think a little bit about the other task. So whenever you move between, I mean, you're doing an analysis and then something comes up on the Teams chat, something that you don't need to look at immediately, but your thinking depth automatically reduces. That's the hidden cost. You're in a meeting on strategic planning and somebody walks in and says, can you just come into the next door? Somebody just wanted one bit of information from you. You're already in some deep strategic planning, and then you have to step out and you do it. Okay, it's just the next room, let me just go and come back. But it slows down your thought process, it slows down your decision making. So these are the hidden costs and the attention residue problem that happens when you switch between tasks. So while we think multitasking is an effective way of dealing with things, the idea really is that research proves that every time you move between simple tasks, even if it is picking up a phone or just responding to one email, you increase your time to finish the primary task increases by almost 25%. That's the cost. So it's better to do focused work than distributed attention. So one of the things that you may need to learn to do better, and many of you said you're multitaskers, is to ask yourself, are you really being effective by being a multitasker? Next slide. Okay. So, like I said, multitasking can significantly reduce effectiveness and increase errors. We think, by doing a bit of both, I move everything forward. I'm able to tackle off and tick off multiple things in the day. But frankly, your productivity is greatly impacted. There is significant research which shows that multitasking is not the most effective. Unfortunately, multitasking has become the way in which we manage our work lives these days because there is so much to do. There is so much to do. It just seems unending. And you just keep moving from one thing to another, etc. But the idea of this session really is to make you a little bit more reflective. Obviously, there is so much to do. Obviously, everything is equally important or seemingly equally important. But there are ways to manage this, and how do you do it is what you need to think about. So maybe not multitasking, maybe focused. And let's just try one exercise for 60 seconds. Next slide. I'd like you to either, if there's something in front of you, try focusing on one object for about 60 seconds or focus on one thought for 60 seconds. Try not to have any distractions. Let's pause for 60 seconds. Okay. What interrupted you all? Was that easy? No, and so what could no distractions? So Kalyanpur, you should tell us how did you manage that? And the others who said no, there are quite a few who were saying it wasn't easy. And I was watching my watch and I kept thinking, how long is this 60 seconds? So I was also not focused, very frankly. Uh, no distraction. There are some of you who said absolutely no distraction. So you're alone, so no distractions. So that helps. Okay, Srinivas, that's great. The others were saying no distractions. What could you, what would be the reasons? Focus changes, distraction happens, notifications from Messenger, yeah, Slack ping. Anybody who said no distractions, what could it be? How did you manage that? Mind was racing, eyes was focused. Okay, happens absolutely even when you meditate. Tried to focus on one thought, but it ended up with multiple. Yeah, focus on breaths. Very clear mindset of what to do next. Great, Devanshi. Many voices clearly audible. So, as you can see, 60 seconds of uninterrupted thought was so difficult, except for a few. And we saw what helped them. Sometimes it was breath, sometimes it was focusing on that what next? How do I stay focused on that? That was important. Absolutely being alone and switching off all distractions possibly is one way to stay focused. So it really what we know from the focus myth is that it's not easy, but it is trainable. It is something that you can learn to do by focusing on your breath, by switching off distractions, by being alone, whatever. You had some of your colleagues on the call say all of this. So I think that's exactly what you need to think about. How do I build my ability to focus? All of us are obviously, it's very difficult. Meditation helps, box breathing helps, a lot of other techniques help. Just simply switching off notifications. In my work life, I never had any notifications on, let me tell you all. Not on my phone, not on my email, not on my Slack. Slack, of course, you can't help it. But I think not on my phone. No notifications on for any apps, no notifications on. Even now, I do not have it. I'm retired now, but I do not have it. It helped me. But I had rules, and that's what is important. If I got a call from my kids, I would pick it up irrespective of where I was. Whether I was in a boardroom, I was with the CEO, it didn't matter. I would tell them, please excuse me, I need to take this call. This call is important, and I will return to it. And sometimes it used to be for a silly reason like, Mummy, can I have Maggie? It used to happen when my kids were small. But I used to pick up the call. So you need to have your rules on how do you manage distractions. But the idea for you to know is that focus is it's difficult, it's a challenge, but it is trainable. It is something that you can build over a period of time, and one of the ways in which you can make better use of time is by building focus. How do you build focus? What tools do you use to build focus? Calming down, box breathing. Even when you're agitated, multiple things, overwhelmed, and you don't know what to do, which one do I pick up? Just do some box breathing. It could even be deep exhalation sometimes, or sometimes you just do box breathing. Box breathing is really count of four, breathe in, count of four, hold, count of four, breathe out, count of four, hold again. So four, five, six, you take your time, whatever it is. It really slows down your thought process. It helps you to focus better. So some of this is how you center yourself when you're overwhelmed and when you don't know how to handle the next task at hand. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is what happens. Yes. I mean, we know this. All of us know. We've been talking about it. Many of you have said this is where time really goes. Uh, Notifications, trying to multitask, not attending meetings with an agenda, continuously switching between contexts, trying to make your brain move from one thing to another. All of this is where your brain and time are under pressure. The time multipliers is what we just talked about: focus, single task, agenda determined meetings, being sure you need to be there, being able to say no to some things, putting boundaries, task batching. We'll talk about some of task batching and other tools. But just as a quick snapshot, these are the things which take away time, and some of them are totally in your hand. Notifications, for instance, apart from Slack and some Messenger, it's in your hands. Don't put your notifications on the phone. It's in your hand. How much time you want to spend on social media, interruptions is on your hand. Whether you need to necessarily be in that meeting, or can you say no, or do you have FOMO? I mean, fear of missing out. You have to be there. You have to determine some of this for yourself. Do I necessarily need to be there? Or can I say, okay, somebody else will represent this? Or I've already sent all the information. I don't necessarily need to be there. So some of this is what you need to think about. Where is the time going and what can I do? What is in my control to manage it first? Because things will keep getting flung at you. Okay, next slide. When the task is important, then one doesn't allow mind to wander is something that I saw on the chat in the last one. I think which is correct. If you determine what is important, that is what is called being in the flow. There is a very good book called The Flow by a Russian author. I mean, it's a very complicated name, so I'm not saying it here. But being in the flow is when you don't know time. You are able to do very focused work for extended periods of time. It doesn't matter to you. You're enjoying it. Obviously, you're in the flow. And that's what. So when it's important to you and it is important and you know it is important, you're typically in the flow, in a state of flow. And that is when even long hours at work don't feel tedious. But when the work is not something that you gives you happiness, when there is too much happening, your mind is wandering, that's when it feels overwhelming. Okay, now we come to, I'm trying to get to time. I'm looking at my time to see whether I'm managing it well. So the productivity toolkit, what we'll do over the next maybe 5 to 7, 10 minutes is to go through about 7 to 8 tools that will help you manage various challenges of time management. So we talked about time personalities, how each one of us has a certain time personality. We talked about, uh, you know, it is important for us to not fall into the urgency trap, not look at the immediate, but what is important, and using the Eisenhower matrix to basically determine how to do that by dividing your tasks among that. We talked about focus being trainable and multitasking not being the most effective way of looking and managing time or tasks. Now let's talk about various tools. There are different tools, research, and these are time tested, well researched tools which have been proven to be effective if used. And there are obviously digital tools which are showcase some of this, which you can adapt and you adopt and then use, which will help you manage your productivity and time better. So, depending upon your challenge, yes, we'll look at what is the tool. Too many tasks. We looked at the Eisenhower matrix. If there are too many tasks, the best tool for you to apply is you don't know which one to begin with. All of them seem important. All of them seemingly look urgent, but are not necessarily so. You need to step back then and do the Eisenhower quadrant. Okay. And we talked about it, but that's what it is. The second one is procrastination. Some of you in the first slide said, I'm a procrastinator. Typical. Many of us are. We push off hard things sometimes. We push out things we don't like sometimes. We push out just because we are procrastinators sometimes. We just push them out and we say, I'll take it up, I'll take it up, I'll do it, I'll do it. And then the time comes when it suddenly becomes a stressful factor for you. And on the same day, there'll be multiple 10 other things that you need to also take care of. And that's what causes stress. Eat the frog technique, and I'll go through each one of this, just introducing the techniques here. Constant interruptions. It could be meetings, it could be people walking in, it could be being pulled into something. You could be, a mail comes and then some other mail comes, and the manager himself or herself is not able to prioritize. So you don't know what to do. He or she does not know what to do. So you are just things are being flung at you, and constantly you're being interrupted from what you planned for the day. What do you do for that? How do you manage that? Is time blocking. You're just feeling overwhelmed. It's a reverse of, what you have in the first one. Too many tasks again. You're just overwhelmed. You feel you need to do it all. So let's say the Eisenhower matrix at least helps you differentiate between urgent and important. Here is 10 tasks where everything seems important. You still have to do them. All of them are sitting in that first quadrant. Do. So what do you do? How do you do it? Then maybe the 135 method. So let's go through each of these in some ways. Next slide, please. Yeah. So the Eisenhower matrix, I've already spoken to it. I'm going to do a quick recap. You have too many competing priorities, multiple tasks. That's your challenge. That's when you use it. How do you use it? You plot those those tasks against axis of important versus urgent. The most urgent and most important are do it now. You need to do them. You only have to do them. Nobody else can do them. Not urgent but important. They have a long term impact. They reduce risk in the long term. You schedule it. You find time for it. You make it important for yourself. You somehow put it on your calendar and you stick to it. You do it. The bottom quadrant on the right, which is the delegate, it is urgent. You need to do it. Someone has to do it, but it does not need to be you. So it's not important for you, but it is important overall. And it is urgent, therefore. You don't need to do it. So you delegate it, get somebody else to do it, say no to it, say, I don't want to attend this meeting. I don't think I have anything to add value here. Or you say somebody else will attend the meeting, or I will get the report sent to you. I don't need to send it myself, etc., etc. So can I automate it? If you're smart, you will think of automation, whatever else. Yes. So delegation. Eliminate, we talked about it, social media, unnecessary notifications, time spent on at with friends or whatever else, and then you eliminate it altogether. Don't do it, dump it, discard it, just don't do it as much as possible. If you can't, then put some boundaries to it. That's the Eisenhower matrix. Let's move to the next slide, eat the frog. So when do you use eat the frog technique and what is it? When you're struggling with procrastination, you're putting off things, you're not doing it. You know it is important, or maybe it is tough. Maybe you don't know how to begin. Maybe you just don't like doing it. For whatever reasons, you're putting it off. You have to do it. How do you do it? Eat the frog, which is take the most difficult task, finish it first. You have multiple tasks, take the most difficult, the most distasteful thing and finish it, because once you're done with it, and you all will relate to it, once you're done with it, there is a sense of relief. Okay, this one is done. Now I can focus on something better. Yes, I can do something else. So that's exactly the eat the frog technique. Do not put something off which is unavoidable, which has to be done, however distasteful. Do it. It enables you to build momentum. It reduces stress for you in the end. It increases productivity because it's not constantly at the back of your head. Okay, I have to do that also. It is done. Now you can focus on something else and you can move on and be more productive. That's eat the frog, as simple as that. Next slide. Time blocking. Multiple tasks and there are interruptions. You have to do a lot of things. You come to the office saying, okay, I need to send this presentation by the end of the day. Then you get pulled into 3 meetings, or you know there are already 3 meetings, but you still know you have to find time for that presentation, or you need to find time to finish your performance review with your subordinates, whatever it could be. And there are going to be interruptions. So you schedule it, you time block it. And I've used this in my work life, and I can tell you, I used to look at mails only 3 times in the day. I was in a responsible position, but I was not looking at mails throughout my day. I used to look at it in the morning as soon as I went to the office, 9 to 9:30. I used to look at it again at around 2 o'clock and again at around 5 o'clock. And of course, late into the night once. That was after going home. But late into the night, I also had a policy, unless it was like criticals, the earth, heavens are falling, I wouldn't respond late into the night. I would not. So, but that was, so some techniques I'm also sharing from my experience of what's worked for me. I also used to schedule very critical time for something which required me to block off time. I used to tell my team members, I'm not available between 11 and 12:30. I'm going to focus on this analysis or this PPT or whatever I need to prepare. So we will have to do whatever later on. And no meetings, I would decline meetings and I would take out time. One easy way in which I've also managed another experience sharing is sometimes when I'm feeling extremely overwhelmed, when I was feeling extremely overwhelmed with the number of things on my calendar, I used to pick a few meetings and decline the last minute. I used to tell them, I'm sorry, I'm not able to attend, I'm not coming. I would decline not necessarily last minute, sometimes 2, 3 days in advance. Suddenly, clearing off the calendar used to give me a lot of control over my own calendar and my own tasks. It gave me a sense of relief. The overwhelming feeling would go away and I would suddenly become more productive. I would say, okay, now I will do this. I'm going to block time for 1, 2, 3 and get done with these. There are many times when I felt overwhelmed in my work life, but some of these have really helped me, including declining meetings and saying, I don't think this is important. Can we push it out, etc. Okay, next slide. 1, 3, 5 method. What is it? Multiple tasks again, all of them important. Somebody asks, what do I do? Everything seems important. It's a long task list. You have deadlines to meet. You're feeling overwhelmed. Okay, the way to do this is you use the 1, 3, 5 method, which is for that particular day, you pick one major task, three medium tasks, and five small tasks. That's what it is. So you kick off day by day in that week, one major task. Okay, in this today, I finished this one major task, three medium tasks, and five. You determine what is major, medium, minor. But it's really using this and saying, okay, I'm going to use a 1, 3, 5 technique so that if you sit and do all your major tasks on one day, you might feel a lot of pile up of small tasks or vice versa. You do keep attending to the immediate and the urgent and the small tasks thinking it's easy, then you might end up feeling stressed about the major one which is not getting done. So that's 1, 3, 5. Next slide. The next four techniques, again, some of you may know these. Pomodoro, I'm sure most of you may have heard about, but let's go through the remaining. Small tasks piling up. We talked about 1, 3, 5, where you need to handle multiple tasks, but let's assume a lot of emails pending, approvals that you need to provide, a quick report that has been sent to you by your team, but you need to forward it somewhere. Small tasks, all of them piling up. The 2 minute rule is one of the best ways, and we'll talk about it. Complex problem requires analysis, deep work. That's the technique. Struggling to maintain focus, which all of us do. When we are overwhelmed, we cannot maintain focus. We're doing one job, then we switch to something else, or we think we need to pick up something else. Sometimes we are naturally physically not able to focus for a long time. Especially these days, a lot of people find it difficult with the amount of stimuli we have around us, through social media and through information overload. It's difficult to stay focused on one thing for a long time and keep pace. So the Pomodoro technique is a very, very important toolkit there for you when you're feeling that emotion or when you're feeling that on a particular day. The Ivy Lee method is you don't even know where to begin. You don't know where to begin. You have all of this in front of you. What do I do? Next slide. We'll just go into a deep dive of these. The 2 minute rule, very simple. Small tasks are piling up. Simple way is to group all those small tasks. If it is going to take you less than 2 minutes, finish it off. Just finish it, replying to a simple email, confirming a meeting invite, approving somebody's expense, or, putting in whatever else, filing a document, forwarding something which has already been sent to you. You don't need to do too much work there. So all of this is less than 2 minutes. Finish it. Those small tasks disappearing, your inbox clearing off, your table looking clean will make you feel more in control. So that's the 2 minute rule. If it's less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. Finish it. Next one. Use it when deep work is focused work, blocking time off very, very clearly for something which requires deep analytical, creative work or problem solving, strategic thinking. Any one of these you need specific chunks of time, 60 to 90-minute blocks. You either need to get into a room and shut yourself off, or you need to say, I'm coming in late to work. I'll finish some of this by 11 and then come into work. Or you need to say, okay, I've blocked this off. I'm not going to attend meetings. I'm not going to take calls. I've silenced my phone. I've silenced my messenger. I've done all of this. And I will just focus on this. And I'm not going to get distracted and I will not do multitasking. So that's the way to practice this. Sometimes it is the most effective way to get done with the deep work, because you don't have that time when you're distracted. You're not satisfied. You'll keep doing chunks of it and pieces of it, and it keeps pending. Next slide. Pomodoro. Okay. Give me a thumbs up if you heard about it. Or say yes. Why Pomodoro technique? Okay, many have, yes. No, okay. I see a few no, so I'll explain it. So many have, because this is one of the most famous, most known, most written about, talked about, like Eisenhower matrix. Uh, when you're struggling to maintain focus, like I said, you can't do continuous work for more than a certain period of time. You need a little bit of a break because that's the way you are. Or you just feel, I need to tackle multiple things. I need to break it up, but I can't spend so much time on one thing. Pomodoro is the best way to maintain your focus and energy for someone like that, or for days like that. Basically, it means you break your day into 30-minute cycles, 25 minutes of work, then you take a break for 5 minutes, and then you go back and repeat this 25 plus 5. You can repeat it on the same task or you can repeat it on a different task. But you do it in chunks of 30, 25 plus 5. There are people who also do it in chunks of 50 plus 10, depending on the work, but 25 plus 5 is the most common. What does it help you with? So, one, you are able to spend 25 minutes of concentrated effort on one thing. Do not pick up anything else. Do that first. And then you take a 5 minute break. Go get yourself a coffee. Just walk down the corridor. Go and get some water. Walk up to the water cooler and have a conversation with somebody. Go out into the team aisle and roam around and come back. Do what you may have to do. If you're at working from home, go down and just say hello, what's happening to your family members, and then come back. Whatever it is, take that 5 minute break because it helps you feel I am not just continuously working. Will managers accept the break of 5 minutes? See, it is something, so Bhavani, it is something that depends on your organizational culture too, I agree. But the 5 minute break is, it's not like people, I don't know, I would expect that managers would not track you in such a way that even if you're going to a washroom or if you're going to the water cooler, they would say no. So you will be able to find some way in which you can get that 5 minute break. Yes, in fact, people are saying, um, sitting is the new cancer. Yes, you should not be sitting continuously for such a long time. You, for your own well-being, physical well-being, you should get up every hour and walk for 250 steps. That is the bare minimum that all of us should be doing. And unfortunately, in our sector and in our worlds today, in the IT sector and ITES sector and the GCC sector and other cultures too, where it is office-based work, we just sit in the morning and continue till evening, which is not the best way. So even for your well-being, so I think it is an education on both sides. If your managers don't agree to it, you should tell them why it is important, why your doctor prescribed it, whatever it could be. You should take these breaks. If not every 25 minutes, do a 50-10. That's the other way to do the Pomodoro. Yes, it helps you chunk it. It helps you retain your concentration. It prevents burnout. It doesn't make you feel overwhelmed by continuously looking at it. Next slide. The last one, that is, you don't know where to begin. You're continuously switching between tasks. And it's confusing for you and you're feeling overwhelmed. This is when you use the Ivy Lee method. It is nothing. At the end of day, one day, you sit and list your 6 priorities for the next day. Only 6. That's what the technique says. And you determine what are those priorities. They could be all small, they could be all big, they could be all medium. You determine those priorities, you rank them. I'm going to start with 1 and finish at 6 in this order. When you begin the next morning, you do not take on task 2 before you finish task 1. That's the important thing in the Ivy Lee method. You are determining the priority, you're determining it, you're rank ordering, saying, I'm going to tackle this in this manner. What it helps with is just finishing chunks of it. And at the end of day 1, at the end of the day that you use this Ivy Lee method, you'll take stock and say what is pending. Maybe you didn't finish all 6, so it moves to the next day. Maybe something got flung at you and you needed to pick it up on that day. So ideally, you should not, and you should schedule it for the next day. But let's assume you could not. Then you have to think about, okay, this came, so what moves, etc. But typically, that should be minimal as much. If you have control, keep that minimal as much as possible. It's also possible you said you would do 6, you finished only 3. Then you need to do a reflection. Am I being realistic about how much time it takes to finish these tasks? Maybe it is not possible to do 6. So then do I need to break 1, 2, 3 into 6 actually? Maybe there are 2 pieces to each of those. So these are all reflective techniques that you need to look at when you look at how you manage your time and productivity. So Ivy Lee technique also has been found to be very effective when you're faced with multiple tasks. So that's a bit of what we've tried to cover today. And next slide, I think it will come to the end of, our session, at least in terms of I'm open to questions. I hope you're taking away something, and you can determine what will work for you. Look at your time personality, look at whether you're a multitasker, whether it is really working for you. Is tending to the immediate the most important way of doing it? How do you prioritize? What technique works best for you? Etc. etc. Okay, thanks to all of you. I hope it's something that you can take away and apply. Any questions? I'm happy to take in the next five
If
minutes.
anyone wants to talk with the ma'am, please raise your hand. I will allow to talk with the ma'am. Or else you can also post your question in the chat box. So you can see, ma'am, in the Q&A sections, there is one questions.
I'm just looking at it. After 25 minutes of work, taking 5-minute break, I don't want to see my phone, and I'm alone at that time. No one to talk. What do I do? Dan is alive, whatever is your name. I'm glad you're alive. But I think the best thing to do is to get your 250 steps. If you ask me, it'll also help your physical and mental well-being. Walk around the corridor of your office, go take a step down if you have to, and come back up. Get your 250 steps, get your hydration, get your water. All of these are very important things to do. Do not think about work in those 5 minutes. Try and get your time of work. If you don't want to touch your phone, you can make a call. You There are also personal calls that you're not able to finish. So if you think you can finish in that 5 minutes, take a 5-minute break. But sometimes personal calls are frowned upon in office. So do the other things. Walk up to the water cooler, get yourself a coffee, get some water, get your 250 steps. That's what I would do. Physical well-being along with mental. Talk to people. We don't engage. I would say in that 5 minutes, just go and say hello to the person next to you. And if there's no one, of course you're saying I'm alone, but we don't even talk to strangers. How's your day? We don't smile. You can go to the next aisle probably and speak to them too. Any other questions? So, Akanksha, how will you send the reflective? Ankit, there is a reflective questionnaire which I wanted to send to the participants. Some of them have dropped out too, but otherwise, maybe y'all can post it into the chat box so that people can download it, because there's no way you will be able to send it to them. The emails wouldn't be there.
Yeah, emails I can send, ma'am, on Monday. They will receive emails, so
Okay, cool.
I can
Cool,
attach over
cool,
there, ma'am.
cool, cool.
Okay.
Any other questions? Anything that I can help with?
So Bhavika, I have one question, ma'am. What to do if a person is productive at night but the work timing for the day? Yeah.
Yeah. That's an unfortunate way in which I mean, it's unfortunate. So if you're productive at night, keep some of your important work to it, Bhavika. I mean, whether it's say analysis or something, but don't try to finish all of it then, because you need to be energized for the next day. But keep your deep thinking work. Don't use that time for replying to emails, etc. Use it for your deep thinking work. Use it for if you have to create a analysis or a report, something which requires thinking, because that's when you're the most productive. Or if requires for you to plan, etc., use it then. Come back the next day and do the follow-ups. Don't try to do everything in there, so that you need to keep yourself energized for the next day. Anything? I'm scrolling through it. Some managers don't understand boundary between technical and individual. Aditya, unfortunately, yes, that's the culture, but I can't say. You have to work within the boundaries of your organizational culture, obviously, yes. But there are ways in which you will have to find, use some of this to manage at least what's in your control. Yes, this is not in your control. So use these techniques to at least finish off some tasks and not feel overwhelmed, etc., etc. And slowly, I mean, in different ways, start putting some boundaries and saying that this PTA is important, I need to attend, etc., etc. What if this? That's what I would suggest. But you have to work within your organizational boundaries, unfortunately. Um, I am trying to see one more question. What if the 5 minute break becomes a 30 minutes break? I will just say, Bhavani, boundaries. What to do if the person is productive? We saw that. Yeah, I think that's it. I don't see any other questions mostly. The individual, okay, sorry. That's all. I think great. How to manage work if all are important to deliver, how to prioritize. Sarika, that's something that we talked about. Yes, if everything looks important, one way is to use one of those techniques. Yes, either use your 1-3-5 technique, do one major, three minor, five small, so that everything moves along slowly. Try and see if really everything is important by using the Eisenhower matrix. So try and see, use these tools. Try and, they are effective. Use them. I know what to do most of the time. Either I procrastinate or not end up doing it altogether. Yeah, classic problem. And then you say it's not important. I don't need it. I didn't need to do it. It was not important for me. Yeah, I wanted to see that movie, but now it is not important, etc., etc. So procrastination is really, it's a topic in itself. How do you deal with procrastination? We talked of a few tools here, but the best thing is to do is to eat the frog if it is important from a work perspective. I would definitely do that, VJSH. Otherwise, if it is from the personal side, you will need to determine if it's not so important. Obviously, you didn't find time to prioritize it. But all of us have only limited time in our lives. Let's at least think about what is important and where do we want to spend it, on what do we want to spend it. How can a person refocus if the focus is broken in between by some interruption? Yeah, one way is to not allow. I would first begin with saying that, sometimes interruptions are unavoidable, but try and see if you can avoid it completely. If it is a ping, a messenger, ignore. Unless you see the name, which is your manager or something, ignore as much as possible. If it's very urgent, they'll ping again, etc. Two, if it is somebody walking in suddenly and saying, can you look at it, tell them politely, can I finish this and can I do this, so that I am doing something, I just want to finish this. Do that. And then sometimes, you just have to say no. I'm sorry, I cannot take this on, I cannot be there, I cannot do it, etc., etc., so that you can stay focused. If Despite all of this, if interruptions occur and you have to refocus, get into a room, shut yourself off sometimes, and that's the best way. Find a meeting room, shut yourself off, and try and refocus. If you're sitting in between a lot of people and in the aisle, meditation, breathing, slowing down your breathing first before you get down to the work helps. Yeah, procrastination, like I said, Om Yadav, you need to just find the way to tackle it before. Don't get it to the last minute. Being a toddler mother and working 8 hours a day sometimes feels exhausting. I can imagine, Shashikala, and we have priority on day delivery. It sometimes feels like quitting the job. How should we overcome this and start working? Do not quit the job on the day that, as a woman, I will only say that don't leave your job on that day. When you're feeling overwhelmed, find somebody to talk to. Sometimes just venting and talking to somebody helps. I've done it in my career. I found great male allies, I found great mentors, I found great supporters who've done this. um, Easier said than done, but also set expectations at home. You have to do this, there is work, I cannot do everything here, or some things will it's not, if it's possible, try and set expectations at home. I've done it with my children too. um, Lastly, I would say, don't put so much of perfectionist hat on yourself. Everything will not be perfect. Sometimes the house will be dirty. Sometimes the cooking may not be the most perfect. Your work may take priority. Sometimes the home may take priority. Don't, guilt is normal, but don't kill yourself over it. It will happen, Shashikala. So just have to, it's about work life integration rather than work life balance. Sometimes one will become more important than the other, and it has to be integrated rather than balanced. There is nothing like balance. Don't quit. If you want to talk, talk to me. I'm on LinkedIn. Yeah, I think we are done. We are on time, Ankit. We should probably give respect everybody's time.
Yes, ma'am. So thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you so much all the audience who have joined for this today's session and I'm making the Friday Musing a great success ahead. So next Friday we do have sessions on Yoga Day on the occasions of International Yoga Day. So please do join on the same timing on 19th June, 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. And have a restful, intentional weekend ahead. And we will see you at the next one. Thank you, everyone, and thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you all. Have a great weekend.